Good Friday, Kitchissippi. It is March the 25th. This is the video version of the 45th Kitchissippi Newsletter. If you're not subscribed to that mailing list, I encourage you to visit kitchissippiward.ca and get yourself signed up. All the links and information that we'll be chatting about are available in the roughly weekly newsletter. It was an action-packed week. Let's jump right in. I think the most important thing that came out this week was just yesterday a proposed new alignment for the light rail through the Cleary Avenue station area. Residents may recall that the line was initially supposed to come out of, or not come out of, but continue underneath the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway. It would then go under with a cut and cover tunnel the Unitarian campus property. Tucked in behind me is the Unitarian congregation, a long-term care and old age residence on the Unitarian campus site, as well as a daycare. The LRT was intended to go through that property in order to deal with some major sewer and waterworks infrastructure that's present in this area. For the past several months, staff have been sharpening their pencils. The engineers have gotten to work and determined that rather than having to go through the Unitarian campus, they can go through the 747 Plaza property that is behind me. So it would go to Richmond Road a little sooner east than had been anticipated. That does have some impacts for the 727 Richmond Road condo, as well as for the 75 Cleary Avenue condo, but I think that those consequences are easier to mitigate than we were dealing with the Unitarian campus. The big benefit is that we can now have a station front right on Richmond Road. It won't be hidden in behind that strip mall. It'll be much more inviting with easier cycling, pedestrian, and car connections. So that is big news. I encourage people to take a look at the information and map that I have online. There are going to be further consultations coming up, both with respect to the new alignment itself. There will be an open house on April 11th, and it will also be part of a consultation that is set to get going, a planning look at this corridor and a complete street look. Once the LRT goes in, there will be a rebuild that will turn the stretch from Cleary west into a complete street with plans for a complete street going east to Golden. A lot of things happening there, a lot of consultations, and I'll make sure that I keep you in the loop. Probably the biggest headline generator this week was a trial balloon that was floated by the National Capital Commission this week on Wednesday evening at a consultation on Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway into a linear park, the green space that goes next to that. A really interesting proposal from the NCC to reduce the number of lanes from Island Park to Carling Avenue from 4 down to 2. The NCC says that would have a number of benefits: about 75% more green space possible, room for segregating faster cyclists from pedestrians and slower cyclists, as well as reducing speeding. I think that has a lot of merit, but am very cognizant of the key role that that corridor plays in our transportation network. Obviously, something like this wouldn't be possible until our LRT strategy is working, replacing a number of those 9,300 cars or so a day who are currently using that NCC Parkway as part of their commute. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. The newsletter has a link to the NCC materials and also a survey that I would encourage residents to fill out. I'm looking forward to continuing to hear your feedback on that trial balloon over the coming weeks. The other piece of it, Spencer Street, I know is an ongoing discussion. We are getting set to rehabilitate that this summer. I've been in close discussions with a number of organizations and residents who would like to see Spencer rebuilt as a complete street with more aggressive measures than have been proposed to slow down traffic and make it a safer cycling corridor. I continue to have meetings. It is at the highest levels of the city right now. I'm hoping to have an update for you next week as to how that is going. Reminder, I have a pop-up meeting coming up on March the 30th. That will be from 1 until 4 at Simply Biscotti in Westboro. That had to get moved from a previous March 24th date due to a conflict with some other things that arose. A quick note, Clare and Hilson, a property that we've talked about a lot over the course of the past year or so, probably even more. The developer of that property had gotten zoning or planning approvals to put in a number of townhomes. I and the residents opposed that as an over-intensification of the area. It turns out that the developer couldn't sell those. So a week or so ago, the developer went to the Committee of Adjustment seeking permission to put in what they would have been allowed to do originally as of right, 6 units of semi-detached housing. The Committee of Adjustment was taking a look at a variance request with respect to the rear yard setback. We recently passed what we call the Infill 2 bylaws. Some hard-fought wins in those new bylaws with respect to infill to create more rear yard setback than has been the case up until now. I was concerned about the reducing the setback that this developer was asking for in light of those infill bylaws. I objected with our planners. I wrote to the Committee of Adjustment, but the Committee of Adjustment, I'm hearing, did pass that. Unfortunately, no one was at the hearing to object. Rosemount Library consultations. This week we held our first round of consultations Tuesday night and on Saturday. Really well attended. I want to thank the library board chair, Tim Tierney, and the CEO of the library, Danielle Macdonald, for coming to the Tuesday night consultation. Thanks very much to our MPP, Yasser Naqvi, for coming to the Saturday. We heard a lot of great ideas. Clearly a lot of programming priorities. People love that library. They want generally to see a library branch in this general vicinity, and many people want to see the library continue at its current location. We heard some interesting ideas for expansion as well as using other community space as programming annex. Our consultant is going to wrap up what we heard in the course of those, go back to the library, talk about the viability of some of those ideas, and then in April we'll have a second round of consultation to begin discussing those in greater depth. Also this week, just a quick reminder that on March the 30th, we are hosting an open house to take a look at the Kitchissippi parking strategy. That has been a long discussion, I know. The city staff are prepared to start making some recommendations. We'll take a look at those on March the 30th. All the information about where those consultations will be held is in the newsletter. Listen, really great news this week as well. Westfest announced its lineup. Go to Westfest.ca to take a look at the festival, which will be held from June 3rd until 5th. This year at La Roche Park, as a result of some of the changes that we've spoken about over the past few months. I am beyond excited that Lucky Ron will open for one of my favorite bands, Luther Wright and the Wrongs. Check out Westfest.ca for all the information on that. Also this week, I co-signed a letter with Councillors McKenney, Cleary and Nussbaum asking the city to consider asking the feds for investment in our cycling and pedestrian infrastructure that would help us speed up some of the investments we had planned to make. The city has a plan for roughly $70 million over 15 years to improve the connections between some of our pedestrian and cycling network pieces. There is a new green infrastructure fund that was announced as part of the federal budget. If we can get some money out of that to accelerate some of those planned investments, that could take that money off of the taxpayer books, make it available to spend on other things that we need in the city. We'll see how that turns out. Over the course of the next several weeks, city staff will be making their recommendations to City Council about our priorities for the various different funds that were announced by the federal government in the budget this week. It was a fairly packed week with respect to City Hall. On Monday, I participated in the 7-hour marathon session, taking a look at the pet store ban. Thanks to Councillor Shirelli, who ultimately didn't support me, but put forward some motions on my behalf to have a complete ban on the sale of pets from commercial sources in our local pet stores. That did not pass, but Councillor Mark Taylor also proposed a motion. He doesn't sit on the committee either, but Councillor Councillor Fleury moved it for him to have a total ban, but after a 5-year transition period. The committee ultimately decided to go that way, a very positive step toward achieving that total ban that I was seeking, but maybe in a little longer time frame than many of us were looking for. That recommendation will come to City Council in the next couple of weeks for its consideration. Also this week, I know I've received a lot of email from residents with respect to supporting photo radar on our residential streets. I have a list of streets who are seeking enforcement around speeding rules as long as my arm. I'm on record as supporting passive tools to help us address some of the speeding problems in the community. Council had an opportunity to debate that motion this week, but ultimately we deferred it to the Transportation Committee. So the Transportation Committee will have the opportunity to hear public delegations. I am encouraging all of our residents to come out and have their say at that committee meeting about their position on using photo radar. Something I didn't get in the newsletter but wanted to get out there, the Hintonburg 5K, with which I have a long history, is going to be held July 10th this year. Because of the Spencer Street rebuild, Spencer will be unavailable to use as part of the route, and it is being proposed that it would run down Wellington Street in between essentially Western Avenue to Bayswater. I'm really excited to see that race potentially on the street. I'll be working with staff to make that a reality over the course of the next several weeks. That is it for the Kitchissippi Newsletter for this week. I am always open to your questions, concerns, and issues. Drop me a line. And if you are celebrating Easter, I hope it's a joyous one for you. If not, enjoy the long weekend. Thanks.